Yeah, disappointed. Really good football team we just played, Georgia, all the way around. We knew that going into the game, and physical as well. I think that was a big part of the game, just the physicality of it, and that showed up really in the second half. I thought our guys in the first half, defensively in particular, did some good things, but the second half, just the physicality of Georgia, that showed up, and then penalties were big in this game as well, so that seemed to be a factor that hurt momentum. But guys are disappointed. The challenge is, how do you take this football game, and we've been saying this, all right, learn from it. What are the things we're going to do moving forward before we head back on the road again and go play against another good football team? So it continues to be a challenge every single week. Our guys know that. How we respond to that is going to be the key for us. But all credit to Georgia. Those guys, well coached, really good players. And those guys, they play with confidence at home. And, I thought we handled some of the environment well at times. But, the fall starts, whether that was because of that or not, we'll go back and look at the film and evaluate that. So, questions?
If you have a question, raise your hand and name and affiliation.
Johnny Conn, ABC 3040 Birmingham. Coach, just walk me through the decision to make the punt late in the first quarter there, just trying to get your guys to score.
Yeah, we were, and that was the look too. That was something that we'd actually had happened to us earlier in the year, and that was something that we felt like was going to be the right opportunity. They presented that the first time we kicked it, came out, checked it, and that was the look. I don't know exactly what happened. Obviously, there was a one-on-one somewhere that we didn't win, but absolutely to try to create a spark, to continue the drive. We knew tonight was going to be a challenge offensively with their defense, so any positive yards that we could get, an extension of drives, that was a chance for us to do that in that field position as well, because they weren't going to be in safe. They were going to give us a chance with that look, and they did give us the look, and they out-executed us in that moment right there. But overall, I thought we had a good design for that opportunity.
Over here for our left.
Just a quick question. How do you feel about your team's week of preparation? Because it seems like there's just kind of a lot of unforced errors happening out there. How do you feel about the preparation with this?
Well, looking now, not good enough. Obviously, when you look at the game, and that's really what you can evaluate. And I think that's on all of us. Starts with me and every single one of us. You got to self-assess is what you have to do. What did you do well? What didn't you do well? We try to address all those things every week as they happen, before you get into the game. Because when you get into a football game that those things you do in practice or things that don't go well in meetings or some of the details, whatever it might be, you try to address them right there. That's why you practice. And you talk about, hey, look, these are some of the things that we have to correct before we get into the game, because certainly our opponent is going to take advantage of that if we don't do those things. So every single week it's a challenge to get yourself prepared and ready, and not because of lack of effort, not because of lack of those guys wanting to go out there and be successful. I don't think anybody's not focused and trying. But at the same time, it's football, and whether it's scheme, whether it's a fundamental, whatever that might be, that's the challenge every single week. And if you gotta take advantage of that in your preparation to try to correct that before you get into a game. So, but there was plenty of things that Georgia did as well. They're a good football team, so there was going to be. We knew that there was going to be ebbs and flows in this game. We knew that there was going to be momentum changes, and that we had to endure that while we were in this game. So we talked about those things, and it was just too much throughout the game, and some of the big plays they made in the second half, the score got out of hand at that point.
Front row right, Mark.
Yeah, Coach, second half of the season coming up, how tough is it going to be to get the second half problems fixed? Because you guys haven't been as good in the second half.
Sure. Well, I don't know. We got to work on that. That remains to be seen. I can sit up here and tell you, but until we actually go out there and prove it, it's just a matter of us going back and looking at those things, which we have, and a continuation of what we have to do to get better at it. I got to look at everything that we're doing, everything we're doing on a Sunday and a Monday and a Tuesday, just our preparation and every single thing that we do, right? If it's not working, you don't want to go back and continue to try to do the same things over and over and over, all right? There's a process, there's a plan, but it has to be better. And so that starts with me, that starts with what we are actually doing, how we're teaching, how we're practicing, how we're emphasizing all the things that showed up in every single one of these games, because we want a different result. You know, every guy in that locker room wants a different result. So in order to do that, you have to evaluate, all right, what are we doing? You got to self-assess, and then you got to go back to work. And then the key is when you do self-assess and you do decide this is the plan moving forward, this is how we're going to get better, you got to go out there and really attack it and do it every single day. And you know, you take games like this, you know, when you lose, I mean, it should hurt. It eats at you. And it's something that fuels you when you go back into your practice and your preparation for everybody. And in the film room, in the coaches' meeting rooms and all that, hey, are we giving our guys the best chance to be successful? And then we get on the field, are we doing those things so when we go out there and play that we're not going to have some of those mistakes that showed up in the game today?
Ryan, what secret first of all keeping you guys in the game early? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Did you still get worn down with the offense inability to maybe sustain?
A little bit. You know, I thought our defense has played well. You know, they have all season long in a lot of ways, and then just, you know, just not enough, right? And at some point, you got to put some points on the board too. You got to even the game out. You got to keep it close. You got to give guys hope. But our guys on defense, a little bit. You know, they started to run the ball, and that becomes a factor in the game. You know, and that's what you don't want to let happen, right? You want to be in a game where you can somewhat control the run and try to balance the offense out a little bit. But when the score starts getting to what it is, you know the team's going to run it. They're going to give you a bunch of different looks, and they can kind of have their variety of plays that they want to attack you on the defense. So it just gives you a lot of different things you have to defend. When the score is closer and the game's tighter and all that, then, you know, teams will probably go back to what they think will work for them, and, you know, you can defend that a little bit differently. But our defense has played hard. You know, I thought the run that Stetson had, that was big. You know, that one hurt, that big, long quarterback draw that he hit. That was a huge explosive play that turned into a touchdown. And, you know, when you're talking about yardage and explosive plays that become touchdowns, that's really the one that hurt us the most on defense.
Back left.
How much injuries on both sides of the line of scrimmage for you recently?
Yeah, we had a lot. I can't tell you exactly their status right now, but I know on the offensive line we lost a few key starters. On the defensive line, you know, guys were banged up and coming out. So, you know, that's been a little bit of an issue this season, is some of the injuries, you know, having some of our key players out. And I think that's one of the keys to being a successful team throughout the year, is if you can avoid the injury bug a little bit. And things happen in football, unfortunately. You know, guys come out, but that's where your depth really shows up, where you got some guys. And there were guys on the offensive line, they didn't really get many reps this week, but they're in tune with what we're doing. And so as a backup player, you got to be able to come in there and, you know, against a really good football team, you're not getting all the same amount of reps, but you got to go step up. I mean, that's what you're asking guys to do. And I believe this too, not just the players that come in. The other guys have to elevate their game too. Guys that have been playing, guys that have been out there. Everybody knows when somebody goes down, you know, those guys that were your key players that are still healthy and are still out there playing, they got to elevate themselves. But the injuries certainly become a factor throughout the season. You were at the midway point right now. Every team is dealing with injuries. And that's where your depth shows up. You know, that's where those guys that aren't getting as many opportunities, when they do get it, to go in there and try to continue with the game plan and the things that we thought would work for us in the game. We got to keep executing that. We can't change everything because of injuries, and everybody knows that. We just got to be better at it.
Robby Ashford on AL.com. Bryan, one, what happened with Ashford fumble, and then two, how would you rate his performance so far?
Yeah, I don't know what happened on the ball came out. I don't know if he just dropped it or somebody knocked it out. I was kind of watching something else. I just saw the ball come out. So either way, it's a turnover, you know, and those are costly. And that's been something that, you know, everybody knows that too. No one's trying to put the ball on the ground. You want to take care of it. But that becomes a big factor in games. I think we were even tonight in the turnovers. I think we got one, they had one. Overall performance, you know, I'll go back and look at it right now. I mean, he competed. You know, he had plenty of things that he had to work through tonight as well. I mean, they got pressure on us, which we knew that they would do. all right, because they're good up front, make good decisions, take care of the football, those type of things, put us in a position where hopefully we have some manageable third downs. So that's not really on him, first and second down. We got to be in manageable third downs. I think we were in quite a few 3rd and 10s tonight, and that's hard. You know, that's kind of where the defense has the advantage. All right, when you're 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, you want to be more 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, and we were the one that Jarquez got. I think that was a 3rd and 4. We were able to get the ball out of his hands quick, good throw, and it was on their sideline, but Jarquez obviously made a spectacular play to get down the sideline and score. But you want to be in those more manageable situations for him. And but early in the game, I thought when guys were covered, he utilized his legs and did some really good things running the ball. And we knew that would be an advantage for us. We knew that could hurt their defense if they covered everybody and Robby was able to take off and go get some scramble yards with his legs, and he did that tonight.
Second row.
Bryan, in your time on the line, second half struggles getting on. We had 40 yards in the 3rd quarter. What's kind of the issue with that?
Well, I wish I had the answer for that, right? I really do. If I did, we would fix those things. I think part of the struggles are you're playing good teams. Part of the struggles are some self-inflicted things that we've done to ourselves. And the key to having a successful game is being consistent throughout the game. And whether at the end of it the score is in your favor or not, you want to have some type of consistency. And I think that's the biggest challenge for us right now. And the most frustrating thing is we're not. You know, we do some really, really good things at times, and then, you know, we just have some things that hurt us. And the consistency piece, that's the key, right? And as you watch teams and why they win, they're consistent. And they keep themselves in the game, they keep it close, and then your last 5 minutes of a game, when you're in a close football game, that's where you got to go make some plays. If you're behind, that's where you got to go execute. You got to put your guys in a position to be successful in those moments, but you got to give yourself a chance by being consistent to be in those moments in games. And even if you're ahead too, you know, you got to continue to keep playing well, because teams can come back on you and find ways to win. I think our consistency, I just think we're too up and down throughout games, and that's what we have to clean up. And that's really the challenge, is just knowing that we can go execute these things, and also putting our guys in a position to have a chance to be successful as well. So it's a combination of, we have to do a better job coaching and putting them in better positions to be successful, and then we got to go out there and make those plays when we have an opportunity to do that. We'll be more consistent with that.
Two more. Mike.
Mike Bishop, ABC Dog Nation. Coach, for 3 quarters, Georgia's offense really struggled. Can you share what you did tactically to keep Bennett and that offense off balance until that opening play of the 4th quarter?
Yeah, I think we played hard. I do. I think our guys up front, just watching our D-line, I thought we played hard up front, and so we were able to slow some of the run game down. I thought in the back end, when they did throw it, you know, they were throwing a lot of quick throws today, some screens. They had a couple boots that were successful that snuck out, and Zero had a big play to his right, Stetson's right. But overall, I thought coverage was pretty good. I thought the front was pretty good. The big play was Stetson's draw play that he hit. You know, that was the one that really opened it up. But overall, I mean, still, in a game like that, I mean, that's a good offense that you're playing against. They've obviously shown they can be explosive. They got a lot of really good players at the skill positions. Their O-line is – I think that O-line's played this entire year together, right? And that's one area, too. I mean, those guys, they've stayed healthy up front. Those guys are good. So, you know, we did some good things, just not enough. But I also think at the same time, you know, we put them in a tough field position when we didn't get the fake. We also, on offense, you know, we got to be able to move the ball enough to create field position. Even if we're not scoring, getting the ball out there to the plus 40, plus 50, and so on, and trying to keep them more backed up in those situations, too. You got to play that field position. And I think that was a factor in the game as well.
Last one, Nathan.
Bryan, you had those penalties on the first and second down. How difficult is that from a game planning perspective when you guys are trying to find rhythm when you're sort of unexpected?
Yeah, it's freaking frustrating. It is. It's frustrating as hell. And you don't know why. I mean, that's one of the things, too. It happens. Like, it's not changing in the game. And right or wrong, you can argue it all you want, but it's not going to change the outcome right there in that moment. So you got to respond to that. And, you know, we've been saying it too. 1st and 10, 2nd and 5 is different than 2nd and 15, right? 1st and 15. So against really good teams, you start getting behind the chains. It's the advantage to the defense. All right, and then even, you know, on the defensive side as well, I mean, some costly penalties too, right, where we have a chance to make a big play and we might have an offsides or something that way. So, you know, that goes back to we got to play more clean. And, you know, before I get too deep into that, I mean, you go back and watch. I mean, why was it a penalty? Was it a penalty? You know, how are we playing? You know, was it one of those that, you know, from just a technique standpoint, we were just poor on it, or was it lack of discipline? But anytime that you're trying to create momentum, penalties are going to hurt you in those ways where it hurts momentum. And, you know, that was just too much. I think we had 10 tonight, you know, and then we had, I think, 8 in the first half. So it's just too many, all right, to put yourself in a position to create the momentum that you need. And in games like this and on the road, you need to have momentum. You got to find ways to give your team a chance to go out there and sustain some drives, create some field position, and have some momentum in a game like this.
Our coach.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.